Tonight, we're exploring 5 disturbing hidden room horror stories that will haunt you. From secret passages to locked rooms with dark secrets, these true encounters will make you question what might be lurking behind your own walls. Get ready to uncover the chilling truths that should have stayed hidden. Story 1. Sarah's Hidden Room. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when Sarah, a newlywed, and her husband moved into their first home. The house was old, built in the 1920s, and had a rustic charm. But Sarah had always loved history and old buildings, so she found it perfect. The previous owners had been an elderly couple, and they had lived there for decades, leaving behind little mementos of their lives. While unpacking, Sarah noticed a strange door in the back of the closet in the master bedroom. The door was hidden behind a stack of boxes and looked old, almost forgotten. Her husband dismissed it, saying it was just part of the house's odd design. But Sarah's curiosity got the better of her. The next day, while her husband was at work, Sarah decided to investigate. She pried open the door and, to her shock, found a narrow staircase leading down into the basement. It wasn't part of the floor plan. There should have been no door there. Her heart raced as she cautiously descended the stairs. At the bottom, she found a small room, cold and damp. It had no windows, and the walls were covered in old, yellowed newspaper clippings. As she moved closer, she realized the articles were about missing people from the town. The names sent chills down her spine. Most of them were from the 1960s. Her stomach turned as she began to realize the connection. This hidden room was a space where someone had been hiding people. Terrified, Sarah tried to leave, but the door slammed shut behind her. For what felt like hours, she struggled to open it, but it wouldn't budge. When she finally managed to escape, she never spoke of it to her husband. But to this day, she feels eyes watching her whenever she walks past that hidden door. Story 2. The Child's Room. Tim and his wife, Laura, had been searching for a bigger home for months when they found a secluded house in the woods. It was perfect, spacious, quiet, and affordable. The only strange thing about the house was a room at the end of the upstairs hallway. The door was locked, and the previous owners had never mentioned it. A week after moving in, Laura asked Tim if he had tried to open the door. He had been hesitant, but eventually agreed to. When they forced the lock, they were shocked by what they found inside. The room looked completely untouched by time, old furniture still perfectly arranged, a dusty crib in the corner, and strange, unsettling drawings scattered around the walls. The most disturbing part? The room smelled faintly of something rotten, and it seemed to radiate a strange energy. Tim felt immediately uncomfortable, but Laura was fascinated. She started researching the history of the house and discovered something that chilled her to the bone. Years earlier, a young child had died in that room. It was ruled as an accident, but the rumors about the house suggested otherwise. Late one night, as they were both in bed, they heard the sound of a baby crying from that room. When they rushed upstairs, the room was empty. The crib rocked slightly as if someone had just been holding it. That night, they locked the door again. But the sound of crying continued every night for weeks until they finally moved out. Story 3. The Basement Escape Room. John had always been a lover of oddities and abandoned places. When he bought an old, dilapidated mansion, he had no idea what he was getting himself into. The house was huge, and the previous owner had passed away years ago under mysterious circumstances. On his first night there, while exploring the basement, John stumbled upon a hidden door behind some old crates. It was a plain wooden door, but it was unusual because it had no handle, just a keyhole. Out of sheer curiosity, John decided to investigate further. Using a crowbar, he pried open the door, and to his surprise, it led into a room filled with old furniture, dusty bookshelves, and broken furniture. However, there was something strange about the room. It didn't feel right. A heavy air of suffocating dread seemed to seep from the walls, and John felt like he was being watched. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him. He tried to push it open, but it wouldn't budge. Panic set in as he realized there was no way out. He searched the room desperately, trying to find an exit, but nothing seemed to lead anywhere. For hours, John was trapped in that room, hearing unsettling whispers from behind the walls. When he finally managed to escape, he never went near the basement again. Story 4. The Attic Apartment. Dan and his girlfriend, Megan, had been looking for a new place in the city. They finally found a small apartment on the top floor of an old building. The rent was cheap, and it seemed like the perfect place to start their new life together. But on their first night, Megan noticed something strange. While unpacking in the living room, she saw a small door tucked away in the corner. It was barely noticeable, hidden behind a curtain. Megan, always the curious one, decided to investigate. She opened the door and found an attic, but the stairs leading up were rickety, so she decided to leave them for another time. Over the next few days, the couple began noticing odd occurrences. Flickering lights, strange sounds from the attic, and objects moved around in the apartment. One night, Dan finally decided to go up into the attic and see if he could find the source of the noises. When he opened the attic door, he was horrified by what he found. The attic was a small, cramped room with a strange bed in the center, along with old furniture covered in dust. But what made Dan's blood run cold was the sight of a journal resting on the bed. It was a detailed account of every single tenant who had lived in the apartment for the past 50 years, and every entry ended the same way. They never came out of the attic. Terrified, Dan and Megan immediately moved out. To this day, no one knows who or what was living in that hidden attic. Story 5. The Secret Behind the Wallpaper. Ava and her family had just moved into a quaint two-story house in the countryside. It seemed perfect, peaceful, beautiful, and away from the hustle and bustle of city life. But it didn't take long for Ava to start feeling uneasy. There was something about the house that felt off, especially the upstairs bedroom. One day, while rearranging furniture, Ava noticed something odd behind the wallpaper in the corner of the room. It looked like a hidden compartment. Strange, considering the room had no closet. With trembling hands, Ava carefully peeled back the wallpaper, revealing a small door. It had no keyhole, just a smooth, featureless surface. When Ava opened the door, she was met with a small, pitch-black room. There was nothing inside, but the air felt thick, like something had been lurking there for years. As she stepped back, she noticed something written on the walls. "Don't open the door." Later, Ava discovered the disturbing history behind the house. It had once belonged to a man known for his obsession with secrecy. People who had lived in the house before her had all reported strange occurrences and unexplained disappearances. After opening the door, Ava began seeing strange shadows moving in the corner of her eyes and hearing whispers at night. That was the last straw for Ava. She immediately left the house, and to this day, no one has dared to open the door again. These stories remind us that not all hidden rooms are simply forgotten spaces. Some are holding terrifying secrets, remnants of a past that should have stayed buried. Whether it's an attic that holds secrets from another time, or a door that should never have been opened, the truth is clear. Some things are better left unseen. So, next time you move into an old house or stumble upon a hidden door, remember these stories. The horror behind closed doors might just be more than you can handle.